Hey, I'm going to talk about the IICRC and the two different protocols when dealing with mold and water damage. Okay, so you've heard me talk about this a lot. Maybe you've heard this term, but the IICRC is the governing body that does all different types of certifications for trauma cleanup, for fire restoration, for water damage, and for mold remediation. So here is the S520 standards for the mold remediation. I'll talk about both of these, and they are distinct in nature and how and when they're dealt with. I have certifications for both right here. So with the S500, this is 24 to about 72 hours after a water damage event happens. Okay, so before all of this, we need to identify and repair the cause or the source of the issue. That's number one. A plumber needs to stop the leak. We need to stop the production of water intrusion, right? Then we immediately move into the IICRC s500 water restoration standard. So this is going to include removing materials that are too saturated. It might include moisture mapping the area, which I've done many of those, where you assess how the path of the moisture went to different places and what can be dried and saved versus what needs to be removed, where flood cuts need to happen. Okay, flood cuts is the straight line cut here, 1, 2, 3, 4 feet high, just depends on the severity. If we can get this handled prior to mold growing, then we can stay on this side of the remediation or restoration protocols. So this is a whole different class in itself, and water extraction is needed. Drying, you're going to see a lot of fans and dehumidifiers. There's going to be some sanitization of category 3 water at times. There's going to be monitoring along the way to make sure we're really drying the area effectively. And there's a science of drying. It really is extracting. It's fans, it's dehumidifiers, it's assessing the different materials. And then we're trying to return it to dry standard. Okay, so why I put insurance here is that the insurance standards are the S500. So if you have a huge flood or something happens where you need to get this handled before mold ever grows, because mold doesn't grow first, it takes a little bit of time. You want to have a company certified with the S500. Your insurance company should be sending out someone, and you can say that I need someone with the S500 protocols to follow those steps to get us back to dry standard. Okay, I've been in jobs before where they said they dried everything out. Well, then the client called me to come out and make sure it was done before she rebuilt. Sure enough, there's some mold starting to grow because all the materials were still saturated wet. So just because you set up a dehumidifier and some fans for 3-4 days doesn't necessarily mean that you dried it properly. You need to confirm that with proper monitoring of that moisture. So that's the S500, and this is really important. I've had a lot of clients come to me thinking they're dealing with a mold issue that needs all these steps, but they don't even have mold yet because the leak just happened. So if we can handle and dry prior to mold happening, we'll be good. Yes, some bacteria can form here. That's why we need some cleaning along the way for sure. But if mold's already happened, so a lot of the homes I'm in already had a mold issue and it dried out and it's now just mold there, and until more moisture feeds it, then it will grow. Maybe it's already condition 3, several different things. If mold has already happened, now we scoot all those over, these protocols over to the S520, which is what I write my protocols off of. I wrote here that the IEP protocol and clearance criteria should be done with this. So I write out step-by-step, site-specific. Containment should happen here. That is a 6 mil plastic barrier that blocks off and localizes the work so that the demolition is not cross-contaminating it into other rooms. Negative air pressure at -5 pascals. This is establishing proper negative air pressure so that we're moving air out of the building. And there's different kind of steps to take to establish that properly. Then there's air scrubbers that's filtering the air with a high CFM HEPA filter in there to clean the air as the demo is happening. Then there's a dehumidifier, usually set up to kind of neutralize the place so we're not having humidity spike into a small contained zone and making the problem worse. And this all should be monitored as well with clear documentation of what's happening, what they're finding. They should be able to notify you if they remove a material and they find more mold back there. That's where some of this can kind of get complex. But HEPA vacuums are going to be their best friend cleaning along the way. PPE is personal protection equipment to cover up. P100 respirators usually needed, full coverage. decontamination chambers. These are all some more nuances of a proper IICRC s520 protocol, which again, I have studied at length this book, and it should not be industry secrets. Homeowners should know at least the basics of what they're getting with a proper mold remediation, because if not, you're gonna get someone come in, spray some random chemicals, not do proper containment, not establish negative air well, not dehumidify properly, and humidity spikes during the job. There's a lot of things that go wrong, but why the IICRC have put these in place is because they work when they're executed, okay? Removal and cleaning, there's whole videos I've done on just these. I've done the mold removal guide. It's a 15-page, document on a lot of this in summary with some pictures and layouts of what materials need to be removed, what can be cleaned, how is it cleaned. Usually the peroxide protocol is the safest, but we need to manually pull the mold out of the concrete and the wood surfaces that might not be cut out entirely or removed entirely. The drywalls, the insulations, that's got to go. Every job's different. I'm just kind of throwing some principles out there. And the importance of the final cleaning is to get the area dust free. So part of my clearance criteria at the end of a remediation to make sure it was done well is a dust free environment, because dust is holding the history of whatever's demo has been done in that area. And we just can't be lazy with that final cleaning. So HEPA vacuuming, microfiber towel, damp wipe down with a dish soap and water mix is most effective. And with all these, if all these steps are in place, you'll be able to get a good, successful mold remediation done. There might be some testing front end and back end. There's a few more extra steps in this one, but just so that you have a good, clear, distinctive understanding of, am I dealing with a water mitigation claim that can be dried and things can be handled prior to mold ever happening, then good, let's handle this and get it done. If mold's already happened, everything we write up is going to be according to the S520, which hopefully on my page and other good pages, you can have a good idea of who you're hiring and a bit of what you should be looking for as a homeowner so that it's done effectively and you don't waste money on any costly mistakes. Mold removal guide, like I said, is free on my page for you to download. I'm just gonna have a lot more details on this one. And hopefully now you're more well-equipped understanding these crazy terms that get thrown around all the time. If you need help with a in-person assessment for me to assess the area and write up my site-specific protocols based on these for your home, or just virtual consulting to look over estimates and comparing notes and reports and all these different things to make sure you're progressing through that mold timeline effectively, reach out to me, email me at andrew@melrosemold solutions, and we'll talk soon.